Всем здравствуйте. Мы продолжаем проходить Старос. Сегодня... Сегодня мы продолжаем, действительно. И продолжаем мы с того момента, на котором мы остановились. В поисках легендарного... В поисках осколка легендарного оружия. До этого мы уже побывали как и героем, так и стали богом. Так что смотрим, что сегодня мне преподнесет игра. И я забыл включить Steam контроллер. Сейчас у меня будут опять проблемы, из-за которых мне придется перезапускать игру. А нет, отлично, она сразу сообразила. И это хорошо. И это хорошо, хорошо, хорошо. Все вроде настроено.
As he set foot on the island, Bernardo couldn't help feeling a bit curious. Was Lupino still waiting to be rescued? No. He was probably drinking champagne with the ravens. Did ravens drink champagne? Did rabbits? Bernardo felt oddly thirsty, come to think of it. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? Bernardo never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He didn't think too much. He just went with his gut and hoped it all worked out. The Sky Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. Could he stick with it?
Так, нам нужно вроде 50 рун, чтобы открыть, и 15 знаков пустоты. А у меня всего 12. Так. Лично сундучки это очень хорошо. Чем быстрее мы соберем, тем быстрее мы прогрейдим наш меч. Так, пожалуй, что нам кто-то пока рано.
And this is why heroes are called dashing, Bernardo thought. See? Dashing? Get it?
Так, значит, нам таки туда. Тут мы все осмотрели уже. Ох ты. Гробничка. Я хочу посмотреть, сколько там надо до меча. Да, субстанции таки хватило, руды не хватает. Надо аж 70 штук. Еще половина. Еще 3. Да, еще половину. Так, это у нас все сохранилось. Отлично. Любезно открываются перед нами двери. Опять эти.
Didn't your mother tell you it's rude to stare? Snapped Bernardo, a little smug.
Ха. Найс. Неплохая шутка.
The people who had built this castle, did they even know what monstrous weapon lay hidden within their walls? The Sky Ripper could destroy anything it touched, or so the legend said. As the Transcendent Emperor had fought the lost gods, thousands had died. But Bernardo had been through wars. The only merciful war was a short one.
Так, давайте грейданемся. Так, и мне нужна еще одна полоска. Отлично. А, еще есть очко. Это очень хорошо. Тут у нас что? Да я-моё. Даст Steam контроллер. А, еще можно... Ну, пока это не пахнет такой уж необходимостью. Это энергия для мечей. Силы. Точно атаки до следующего. Прикольно. Прицельтесь. Это урон, это... Но это не очень интересно будет. Даже не знаю, что еще прокачать. Представьте, шути. Я думаю, хпшечку возьму до 150.
If only he had some way to break the ice. Or convince it he was a friend.
Easy. Тут лифт. Давайте-ка посмотрим, что будет тут. А тут комната. Давайте-ка скатаемся сначала сюда. Ух ты я. Опять не туда. Окей.
Long live the Emperor! Called the Ravens.
Да я тебя так зарублю. Я думал, он взорвался уже, а там их, оказывается, двое было. Отлично. Большой сундук с материалами. Ух ты, как хорошо. Ух ты, как хорошо. Получается, за дверями у нас только секреты. Это очень хорошо. Лол.
I think this is yours, said Bernardo, but he couldn't hear his enemy's answer.
Ну что я могу сказать? Теперь я точно знаю, что если я сквозь них доджусь, они подрываются. И это дает смысл качать дальше додж, чтобы доджа было больше.
A chest that shiny deserved to be opened.
Сундук заслуживает открытия. Давайте-ка походим по дверям сначала. Лифт, пожалуйста. Я наношу урон. Понятно. До этого не наносил, теперь наношу.
I'm just trying to teach you how to fly.
Блин, пропустил атаку. Так, что у нас тут?
A gem of power. Ooh, you didn't find those every day.
Очень хорошо. Нашли новый самоцвет. Мы еще, кстати, здесь не были. А. Здесь мы были. Лол.
I'll just have a dash, thought Renato.
Понятно, они видят только в поле зрения. А, 4 хп. Пойдем пока за свитком забегаем там.
Sorry, mustache, thought Renato.
А, окей. Свиток надо было читать. Хотел хардкора, как говорится. Отлично.
One small step for a fox, he thought.
И блок не сработал. Блок такой, не.
Puzzle. Renato loved puzzles, except when he couldn't figure them out. On the other hand, if there was a puzzle, it was probably meant to keep people away from something good.
Отлично. Что? Это пехотинец? Консервированный? Просто грабнул и убился об него.
This jewel was more than sparkly. It had arcane power and an engraving. To Cindy, that had been his mistake before, thinking he could win a battle of wills with an ancient evil all by himself. He had to be cleverer than that, or braver,
Что сделал, как случилось? О.
something.
Лол. Вместо того, чтобы решить головоломку, там какой-то фигней страдал. Окей.
There it was. Skyripper's armature. The stuff that dreams are made of. Engineers' dreams, anyway. The device was intricate. No one alive had the skill to make a thing like it. How was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece. Skyripper had a heart. A core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it?
Давай,
He didn't
давай,
need to hurry to
кулинар.
face
А у меня
her.
нет.
She would find him.
Мультиварки, так, рисовая.
It was a no-brainer. He'd sacrificed his old friend Lapino to get the armature. And the armature was useless by itself, only a series of coils and wheels. War demanded sacrifices, and he would make more before the end. He would have to choose the greatest good no matter how much it cost him. Zenobia. Well, he would see her sooner or later, across a battlefield or a sword's point before all this was over. He was sure of that. The power was in the core. Obviously, he had to get the core. He looked up at the old trees around him. They were so big and so old. They'd been there before he was born, and they'd be there after he'd passed into legend. Was he confronting his own unimportance? What had got into him? He was no philosopher. Anyway, who cares? He was plenty important. He was a hero, and soon he'd prove it.
Прикольно, теперь за мной лезает.
It was time to make a new sword.
Да какой новый меч? Там 70 надо. Так, сюда не вернуться. Это значит, что мы сначала сходим сюда. Прыгнуть вниз. Ну ладно, прыгнем вниз. Эй! Так. Отлично.
This chest was filled with old concert t-shirts. And something useful.
Одной руды не хватает. А,
There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time.
отлично. Ну все, как только набредем на кузницу, можно будет создать последний вид меча. И я смогу все двери открывать.
Where did that go to?
Управление, пожалуйста. Броневороны. Бронекурцы, я бы сказал.
There are only these huge crystalline growths. Had those been here before? He no longer heard birds except for the feverish cawing of the ravens when they attacked. He couldn't smell the small animals of the forest. The mice and rabbits. Where had they gone? And he was getting hungry too. This was an unhealthy place to be.
Oh, what does the fox say? Asked one raven. Another one called back, "Don't come dying!" They both laughed hysterically.
Это просто 10 из 10. Вот что за фоксы. О. Проклятый крип. Да, отсылка действительно какая. What is the fox say? О, мы ядро нашли как-то быстро, ну окей.
The 20-sided core made him feel physically sick. Once he had sneaked into a temple of the dark arts and he hadn't liked what he smelt and saw there. This felt like that. As quick as he could, he wrangled the icosahedron into the armature. The wheels began to spin, then glow. The sick feeling quickly spun away. Now he only felt sad. He had lost good friends for this war apparatus. Maybe Lapino wasn't such a good friend. Yeah, that made him feel better. He carried his prize back to the Farfarer. Now he had to make his next move. There was a key Imperial outpost on the Nexus. If this really was some sort of super weapon, he could use it to wreak havoc on the enemy. And if it wasn't, well, better to know that before the final battle. But maybe he should show it to some scientists first. There was an observatory on the Nexus. Maybe he should go there before he fired it. Well, of course. If you've just assembled a weapon out of legend that can exile gods from the world, you'd want to have a scientist or two look at it. And even if they disagreed and he had time, you could ask Calaveras himself. Yes, the observatory would be his objective. Why had the parts of the Sky Ripper only surfaced now, thousands of years after the Transcendent Emperor had dismantled it? The mad Emperor Isengrim had performed terrible, bloodthirsty rituals to invoke the lost gods. Was that why these ancient artifacts were rising out of the ground? How perfect, then, that the Sky Ripper would reappear to be his destruction.
Прикольно.
Renata felt a little better.
Лис, который питается тыквами. Че, первопроходец Бореи? Че эта ачивка означает?
Who leaves these chests everywhere? Wondered Renato. I should send him a thank you note.
Кто разбросал все эти сундуки? Этот меч еще так и не смог еще покрафтить, что прискорбно.
around the room yelling, "Oh yeah, that's how we do it." It was something he liked to do, but only after he'd killed all the witnesses. A legendary weapon was exactly what the rebellion needed. They were outnumbered. The once kind emperor had become a tyrant. But his ravens stayed loyal, for he fed them his victims, and the other animals were too frightened to rebel. Renato shuddered at what the emperor was trying to do. To bring back the lost gods, the Black Harvest, the Black Sun? No. He would stop that toad, no matter what the risk. There had to be something useful in these things, didn't there?
Ой, нет, там еще остались. Вот теперь все. Блин, где же этот чертов крафтовый стол, когда он так нужен? Столько дверей пропустил.
Renato had found his game changer. He would ignore all distractions and focus on the Sky Ripper. Where was a workbench when you needed one? Oh, never mind.
Да. Отлично. Ну, в принципе, все.
There was an inscription. Praised the sun.
Здесь была инструкция. Восславь солнце. Неправильный перевод. Правильный перевод. Praise the sun. Восславь солнце. Dark Souls. Классная отсылка.
What was really fun was hooking yourself onto a moving ship.
Да, дэш, чем? Мне надо дальше в дэше вкачиваться. Где поэты, которые должны успевать его подвиги? Так. Корабль, который уплыл. Темный меч мне больше нравится, он более... Скорость атаки больше. Так. Сейчас подлечимся.
Renato was thrilled. The scientists seemed to think he'd put the Sky Ripper together right. But one toad was worried.
Yeah, the Sky Ripper could tear a hole in existence itself. There are invisible strings that tie the universe together. If the Sky Ripper cut one, the hole would widen and widen until our whole existence fell into it.
Another toad sighed. Irving still believes in string theory.
At least go see Calaveras. Yeah.
said the worried Toad.
He knows more than anyone else has forgotten about the Transcendent Emperor.
If anyone could tell him how to use this weapon safely, it would be Calaveras. It was he who had told Renato how to find it in the first place. But maybe he had to give up on using it as a weapon. Maybe he had to go to the secret rebel base and ask the generals there what he could do with a weapon that he dared not use.
Конечно же, мы пойдем искать
Well,
бабу.
he should have known he'd have to consult Calaveras again. The scientists at the observatory were smart enough. But what did they know of the Transcendent Emperor? He hoped it wouldn't delay him too long. The rebels had scheduled the final battle soon. Every day they delayed risked the exposure of the secret base. And some soldiers were already drifting back to their homes and families. Calaveras would fix the Sky Ripper for him. And then he would win the final battle. Maybe it was the cold, but after a few steps, Renato's optimism started to slump. What if Calaveras couldn't help? Did Renato dare use the Sky Ripper? Oh, he hated that he had chosen this path. It was so much simpler to rescue friends and attack enemies. Even if some of those friends were more trouble than his enemies, some of those enemies had been friends before and might be lovers after. No, okay, it wasn't all that much simpler, no. Physics made his brain hurt. That, at least he was sure of.
У него болела голова от физики.
He hoped his hook didn't break. Tried to focus on the now. The ravens who seemed everywhere all the time. Where did they hatch from? Were there giant raven hatcheries somewhere, or did they have families? Ooh, he didn't want to think about raven mummies raising their darling raven chicks. Yeah, Calaveras would help. He would make Renato feel better about using the Sky Ripper. And then Renato wouldn't have to worry about ravens ever again.
Ну, одновременно, блин, напали. Блин, я пропустил вкусняшку. Не заметил. А, нос чешется.
Renato wondered where he could find a snack. he was feeling a bit peckish.
Не вовремя. Такс.
Sometimes Renata really hated inanimate objects.
Ненависть к неодушевленному предмету.
He needed some way to break the ice with this wall, so to speak.
Поехали в секретку. А, вот еще один свиток. Блин, эти щитовики, конечно, гадость. Ладно, еще раз. Да ты, чтоб тебя. Тебя и твой щит, блин.
Maybe I should follow my nose, thought Renato. Renato had been focusing all his energies on the Sky Ripper. If Calaveras could not fix it, he'd be out of options. He would have to assault the Imperial fleet empty-handed.
Не хватает мне стамины, даже без раздумий ее надо изучать.
Calaveras had never let him down.
Yeah, of course I can make it work better.
But when Renato explained about the strings, Calaveras grew thoughtful.
Oh, strings, you say? Well, the Arcana do speak of the ties that bind the world.
He drew many intricate symbols in the dirt.
Yeah, so, according to my calculations, each time you fire, I'm afraid there's a 1 in 128 chance you'll destroy the universe.
That's pretty good odds. That's like rolling, what, 21 dice and they all come up 6. What are the odds of that?
What? No! It's more like 2.716s in a row.
Anyway, with those odds, it won't happen if I use it just once.
Yeah, no, that's not right. Each time you use it... Okay, look, just don't use it ever.
All right, I guess. As he sailed away from the mountains, Renato could see clouds darkening. Rain? No. Ships. Imperial ships, swarming thick as bees. This was it. The big battle. They could not afford to lose this one. What if it did not go well? What if he had to use the Sky Ripper? Could he gamble the universe? On the other hand, what were the odds of rolling 21 6s in a row?
Norm.
The battle was not going spectacularly well. What had the rebels been thinking? They'd been thinking he would bring the Sky Ripper, or the Iblis Stone, or that he'd sideline Zenobia somehow, or turn her. Couldn't he use the Sky Ripper just once? After all, if chances were 1 in 128, that meant he'd for sure be okay the first time. They'd get worse each time he used it, but the first time would be okay, right? He wasn't sure that it was right. So he didn't fire the Sky Ripper. He just brought it along, in case.
Да, вот поэтому я его использовал, потому что скорость атак быстрее.
His mother had never let him wave his sword around at home. He guessed he was still compensating for that. magical jewel. Bernardo couldn't wait to find a workbench. Someone had told him the odds didn't change just because you'd had a streak of good luck. His gut told him that was wrong, though, and he always listened to his gut. On the other hand, 128 chances to win, but one of them, he'd destroy the universe. Ooh, that seemed a bit serious. Maybe he could defeat the Emperor without firing the Sky Ripper. Maybe he could bluff, but with a real weapon. Like in cards, when you had 3 knaves, but you pretended you had a fizzbin. That could work. He smelled burnt fur. His. Nothing gets your blood pumping like a bit of killing.
Да. Немного с радиусом прошляпился.
Bernardo wondered if he could learn to cook this way. Probably not.
Мог бы научиться готовить еду.
Good thing Renato didn't have vertigo.
А. Ах ты! Бака.
He set up the Sky Ripper and let it warm up. He would bluff if he had to. Zenobia came out, flanked by a very daunting platoon of ravens. You won't actually use that, she said in that annoying, I know everything because I'm a cat and you know nothing because you're just a fox voice she had. Or I know the odds. Good, because there's a real chance you could destroy the universe. No, not the first time I use it. The odds are too low. What? No? Yeah, sure. The first time, the odds are practically nothing. They only go up if I use it a bunch more times. No, but that's not how odds work. Didn't you pay attention in class? Now surrender, or I'll use it. Just once, he said. Don't. He felt sure the odds were with him. You have to go with his gut. That's what heroes do. Fire, he said. Please? The Sky Ripper fired. With a tremendous whoosh, the Emperor's flagship went up in flames. It was awesome. And then he noticed there was a hole in the air. A blackness, like a tear in a parchment. Wind was blowing into it, widening it. It grew larger, and even larger. Crates fell upwards into it, and the world itself seemed bent, like the reflection on a curved mirror, as it poured into the ravenous hole.
10 тысяч.
1 in 128. What are the odds? Thought Renato. And then everything fell into the hole and was gone. And just like that, he was alive again, and back on the Farfarer, still fleeing burning Ubar. The book was still open before him. So, the book was a portal. It took you to the future, when your destinies would branch. He had failed and died 3 times, but he'd learned another true thing. The core was powerful, but dangerous if used improperly.
Что вы за герой? Герой, который способен рискнуть пространством времени, вселенной и всем остальным, если шансы высоки. Путиводитель по галактике для небесных скитальцев. Да. Тут еще это осталось.
But he was starting to feel like he was getting the hang of this. There was a way through to victory. He could feel it. He just had to keep running the path of destinies. With that, the book fluttered back to the beginning, and he fell into it. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
Итак, пойдем по пути Квовика.
Ah, Lapino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had sold a Pegasus that he did not exactly own. Lapino always wiggled out of trouble, given time. But he was out of time. Lapino's frantic message said that the Ravens were going to kill him for being a rebel spy. And that he had a clever plan. If the fleet reached him first, they'd string him up for that. Never mind the winged horse. Or so Lapino had told him over the far speaker anyway. Lapino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens? You couldn't go sticking jewels in your gauntlet just anywhere. What if you dropped one and broke it? Luckily, there was a bench right here.
Так, ну, собственно, на этом мы закончим на сегодня. Всем спасибо за просмотр и всем пока-пока.